Chapter 21, verse 8, the child grew up and he was weaned. And Abraham made a great party on the day he weaned Yitzchak, or the day Isaac was weaned. And remember, I said this on Shabbos. I don't know if you remember, Yafa, but he says here in Rashi, Musof Esrim Arba Chodesh, that he made this party at the end of 24 months old. So that's how you know from the Torah, the only age of a birthday party that's mentioned is a 2-year-old birthday party. There you have it. And he was weaned, rather than that he was weaned at the age which children typically become weaned, which is 24 months. So that's the age which you typically stop nursing in those days. What?
Sorry, Rabbi.
Yes.
I do remember you saying that, and I repeated it to my kids.
Okay, there you go. Baruch Hashem.
Thank you.
Okay, so Mishteh Gadol, it was a great feast. It was a great feast. Hold on. Hey, Kobe. We're page 106 there, Kobe. Made a great feast. Rashi says, Shayu Sham Gedolei Ador. The elders of the generation were there. Shem va'Ever va'Avimelech. The elders of the generation were Shem and Aver and Avimelech. So it's interesting that it's Avimelech, who last time there was last passage, Avimelech was in a squabble with God. He had to be warned by God that this was a great man he was starting with. But the Torah is saying Mishteh Gadol to tell us that it was a feast of great people. That's what Rashi is telling us. It was a feast of great people.
And the leading obviously recognized that he had some kind of power of prophecy because he had a dream where God revealed himself and said what you couldn't be known without that revelation, right?
That's a good point.
In Avihu, right? Hashem told him, Avimelech, Abraham is a prophet. So he was confirming that relationship.
That's a very good point. Another idea is that first of all, the Midrash says, the Midrash Shochar Tov calls. Hold on 1 second. Let me look up here an earlier Rashi that it refers to. But here. Okay. But the Midrash Shochar Tov says Avimelech was a righteous person. So basically, the Midrash calls Avimelech a righteous person. So he's one of these figures in the Bible that some people read as very wicked, some people read as neutral. Depends how you see him. But here the Midrash says he was righteous. Regardless, he was one of the great personalities of the time. He invited the great personalities of his time, the great spiritual leaders. Alternatively, the Bereshit Rabbah says he invited the very giants, Og and the other giants. So it was a party for very big people, Mishteh Gadol, for the big people, on the day he weaned Isaac. Now we get to the controversial verse. V'atera Sarat Hagar, V'atera Sarat ben Hagar Mitzrit, Asher Yaldel Avram Mitzachek. Sarah saw the son of Hagar, who was the Egyptian, who gave birth to Abraham, Mitzachek. She saw him being Mitzachek. So Sarah saw the son of Hagar, who was an Egyptian, and she gave birth to Abraham, to Ishmael. She saw this kid being Mitzachek. What does Mitzachek mean? So Rashi looks up in the Concordancia. Where else does the word Mitzachek appear? And here's where it appears. Rashi says it could connote that he was doing idolatry. Lashon Avodah Zarah, as it states, Vayakumu Litzachek, and they got up to be Mitzachek. And there it's a reference to idolatry. Where is that referring to? That's reference to the golden calf. It says they got up to be mitzachek, to be merry, and that was idolatry. Davar acher lashon gilui arayot, or it could refer to prurient behavior, as it states, mitzachek be. That was this Joseph and Potiphar's wife. She accused him of being mitzachek, of being adulterous. And then there is the third approach is lashon ritzicha. It can connote murder, as it states, Yakumu na ne'arim, when the lads get up, visachku efanenu. And this is a reference to the book of Samuel, where Avner, the commander of Shaul's forces, met Yoav, the commander of David's forces, and they did like a duel, and the soldiers killed each other. It says Vayakumu, it says Visachku efanenu. It says there, it says Visachku efanenu. It's not exactly the word yitzachek, but it's close enough, I guess.
Even today in Canada, we have the Highland Games, which originally were a battle to the death.
Yeah, but here I'm just saying that the word, it's not exactly the word yitzachek, it's close word, visachku efanenu. Shaya merivim Yitzchak, he was fighting with Yitzchak al Yerusha over the inheritance. Va'omer ani b'chor, Ishmael was saying, I'm the firstborn, and I'm going to take a double share. The Yutzim was there, they would go out to the field, v'notel kashto. Ishmael would take his bow, v'yorebo chitzim, and shoot arrows at Isaac. As it states, kim meet la'alei hayore zikim megomer. As it says, like one who tires himself and shoots fireballs and says, oh, misachek emi. I'm just joking, I'm not serious. That's a little bit relevant, like somebody who's shooting fireballs. He read zikim. That's what. So anyway, the basic point is, why does the Midrash take this idea? It just says she saw that he was playing. That's all the literal text says. Sarah was upset that she saw that Ishmael was playing with Isaac. And the Midrash says, no, she wasn't just playing. He's either doing idolatry, adultery, or murder. So the Midrash, it's almost like the Midrash is trying to justify how the expulsion of Ishmael.
Has anyone tried to go back and find litzachek in other places where it just means play? In other words, was this cherry picking the evidence? It's very ingenious. I mean, if every single one, it's pretty bad. There's the golden calf, there's Potiphar's wife, there's the duel. If this is a rarely used word,
you don't have to go back.
It's exactly what I said about the Highland Games. They're not Jewish games. They're games that are for the death, or like either one of the three. If I'm playing with with my neighbor's wife, that's a result that could result in murder, right? So,
okay, there's no question that the word mitzachek can mean these things, can mean adultery, idolatry, and murder. And Rashi proves that. But you said, well, does it usually mean that? You don't have to go back. You just have to look at these verses in front of us. The name, the protagonist, the main character here is Yitzchak. And Sarah herself uses the word. Kol hashomea yitzachakli. She says in verse 6, whoever hears what God has done for me will be rejoicing. It's the same exact word in verse 6 that's used in a positive sense. Isaac's name is this word. Isaac's name is this word. So yes, the word can mean both things. But Sarah herself used the word to laugh in a negative way. When it says that she laughed when she heard, and God rebukes her for laughing. She says, no, I didn't laugh. And God says, yes, you did. Or Abraham says, so the point is that, of course, the word Yitzhak can mean both things. So you have to say, why is she so upset? So she's the laughing. That's the whole thing about laughing. Laughing means the opposite things. Sometimes people laugh when they hear bad news. It's just a reaction. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to say.
He wasn't playing chess or Monopoly with him. He was playing with dangerous
Well, he
weapons.
could, that's certainly how Rashi reads it, but it's not necessarily clear from the text. She just maybe didn't like them playing together. It's very possible that she just didn't like them playing together. Sarah saw that he was playing. It doesn't say that he was threatening him. Sarah, you could certainly read it the way Rashi does, but you could also just read it like in all those other contexts. It's clear from the context that it's bad. In the golden calf, it's clear they're getting up to do something bad. In the case of Potiphar's wife, it's clear that her being mitzachek is something very bad. Here, it's not clear that it's bad. She just saw them. It could be laughing. She just maybe didn't want to. Rashi makes it bad, based upon the midrash, because maybe they're uncomfortable with the expulsion, or from the context, the later context, God says, "Get rid of her." But Sarah is the one who says get rid of her, and Abraham doesn't want to do it, which would seem to imply that maybe he wasn't doing anything so bad, because Abraham is very hesitant to do it. Is a big laughter is an ambiguous trait.
I mean, forgive me for getting into politics, but we the contemporary, political climate, we know this is a big thing on the Trump stuff. It's like, oh, I was only joking. You say something outrageous and then you say it was a joke. And this is a constant double meaning that's happening. You follow the news, you'll hear it every day, almost every day.
I never heard it, so I don't really follow.
So I'll send you examples.
No. I'm good. I went to the dentist and they said, do you mind that the TV's on? Yeah, I said, you want to channel? I said, you could put on anything, just don't put on any political talk show. I'm not. They said the only time people ask to change the channels is when it's politics. So I'm not saying it's not important. It's just not where I want to have my head.
Good for you.
Yeah. So, book can mean different things, and you also see it. You're right, Ben. Like people will sometimes insult people and say I was only joking, but here I think it's something else. It's either he was doing something very terrible, or else maybe Sarah just didn't want them together. And there certainly is, for much of human history, there was a very big caste society. Like you weren't supposed to be friends with somebody who was below. And the Torah makes a point of Sarah seeing the Egyptian, that this was a person who was foreign, a different person, who's not part of their tribe. She didn't want this person there. And that's what Sarah says, verse 10. Vatomer Sarah, Vatomer Avram, Garesh Hamazot Vetpina. Get rid of this woman and her son. She says, get rid of this woman, because I don't want this son to inherit with my son, with Yitzchak. And she makes the point of saying he's my son, maybe not your son. And why does she have to say in my son with Yitzchak? Rashi says it's obvious. But Rashi says, Mikiman shu b'ni, afilu meinu hagun b'Yitzchak, even if he's not as good as Isaac. Hey boys. Oh, hagun k'Yitzchak, afilu meinu b'ni. Or if he were only as good as Isaac, even if he's not my son, ein ze kedai lirosh imo. It's not appropriate for him to inherit him. How much more so with my son, with Isaac, that he has both of these things. The problem with this is that this verse of Sarah goes directly against the Torah. How so? How does it go against the Torah? It goes against the Torah because the Torah says specifically, if you have two wives, one whom you love and one whom you hate, you're not allowed to give the inheritance to the son of the one whom you love. 106. You can't favor that son over the one whom you hate. The Torah is very specific about that in Parshas Kiseitze. God willing, right now I'm up to Parshas Kiseitze in the Torah, so I have that on my mind. But you see that it's not allowed. And here Sarah is doing it, directly violating the specific commandment of the Torah, that you're not allowed to do this.
Before the Torah was given.
Yeah, so she was not technically in violation of the law, but it's certainly violating the spirit of what the Torah was saying. That when the Talmud says that the patriarchs kept the Torah, it means that they were such beautiful people but they understood the essence of the Torah and they kept it. And here Sarah was doing this expulsion, which is directly a violation of what the Torah itself would later command. Just pointing that out. Vayirad, and maybe this is why Abraham was very upset. Vayirad Avram b'nei Avraham. Abraham was very upset. The matter was very bad in the eyes of Abraham. I was open no, on account of his son. Which son? Which son is it bad? Which son is it bad for him? Anybody?
You know that we know the answer, Rabbi.
What?
I said Ishmael. You know that we know the answer, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it could be Ishmael, but it could also be Isaac. The text is ambiguous here. The text is ambiguous. He could be upset about what's happening to Isaac, but he could also be upset, most likely, as Rabbi Yosef said, that he doesn't want to exile his son. But Rashi again takes a different reading. He's not upset about what happened to his son. He's upset for he heard that his son had gone forth to bad behavior. He wasn't upset that he was going to have to expel his son. He was upset about what his son had become.
No, the footnote here in this Karya, Rashi says, because he heard he had taken to degenerate ways.
That's Rashi. Sheyatzal Tabud Ra.
But this is a baby, right? It was a toddler.
No, we're talking about Ishmael. That's what I'm saying. Rashi's saying he was upset that he heard Ishmael had gone down the wrong path. It's not Isaac who's doing degenerate ways, but Ishmael is.
Right, but the son
Is Ishmael.
the Egyptian had born to Abraham was plain. So
Right. So you're pointing out the point that when it says his son, he's referring to Ishmael. Before it said, Sarah says, my son.
right.
And now it says about Abraham's son, it's Ishmael.
But the question is with degenerate ways, at what age are we talking?
This is Ishmael. Ishmael was now 15.
Okay.
He was 13 years old when Abraham was 99, and so now Abraham is 102. So you do the math, he's like 16. So
Do we have people like that today, Rabbi?
what? People like what?
Who are able to feel/mourn for their degenerate sons?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Rav Kook organized a plane trip over the kibbutzim in Palestine to bless them, right? There isn't a person like that today who is able to love the people who are going against the Torah. I think that's why I asked. I don't know.
I mean, I don't think that's true. I think that for sure in Israel you have a very polarized society, that a lot of people hate each other. Certainly before October 7th, a lot of people have very distinct groups, and religious don't like the non-religious, but you also have just this tremendous sense of brotherly love in the country, of people just embracing each other, rabbis loving all Israelis. You definitely have a lot of that.
Okay,
It's
why I asked, because it's
it's
I
not.
lived through it, and it's so difficult. Like I don't even say the name of two of our prime ministers because it's so, I lived through their degenerate ways, and it's
It's a different story. The politicians are going to do what they do. Yeah. All right, let's try and do another verse. It says, anyway, the point I was making was that Abraham is calling Ishmael his son. His son. He's upset he was going down the wrong way. So that's very powerful. Sarah sees Abraham's son going down the wrong way and she kicks him out. Abraham sees his son going down the wrong way and he's upset. But God said to Abraham, Don't let it be bad in your eyes. Says, don't let it be bad in your eyes about the youth and his mother. Everything that Sarah will say to you, listen to her voice, because through Isaac, I will make your seed will be called. The nation will come. This is like the Israeli politics today, because this woman in charge is Sarah Netanyahu. She's the most powerful figure in the country. She tells her husband whatever to do. Shema b'kolah, listen to her voice. Lamanu, we learn Shaya Avram tafel Sarah b'neviut. This tells us that Sarah was a greater prophet than Abraham. Sarah was a greater prophet than Abraham. That's what the Midrash says. Verse 13. Also, this son of this Amah, I will make him into a great nation because he's your seed. Abraham woke up early in the morning. It's a kind of, by the way, the language imitates the language of the Haggadah. I'm not the Haggadah, of the Akedah. Because this is like another Akedah. There are two back-to-back stories. Abraham has to basically kill his son, and he's willing to do it. He's ready to kill his son, sends the son away, and then the angel somehow rescues the son before the death happens. It's the same story in that sense, except Isaac didn't do anything wrong, but neither necessarily did Yishmael. He was just playing. You might think most parents would be happy to see their son playing with his older brother. But Sarah wasn't, obviously. Vayishkim Avram baboker. Abraham woke up early. Vayikach lechem v'chem asmayim. He took bread and a jug of water. Vayitin al Hagar. He gave it to Hagar. Samal shechma. She put it on her shoulder. What does that remind us of? V'tayelad vayishalcheha. What does it remind us of? Here Abraham kicks out the Egyptian. And when he kicks her out, he gives her a little bit of bread. She puts it on her shoulder, and she has to leave. And she went into the wilderness of Beersheba. 400 years later, we're going to see Hagar's descendant, and we're going to see Abraham's descendants running away after they had with the bread on their shoulders as they're going away. It's like it's foreshadowing the Exodus. Hello, Shepsel. Oh, it's time to daven. All right, we got one more Rashi study, God willing, tomorrow. We'll get up to it tomorrow. Yasher koach.